Hello, welcome pen friends. It has been 2 whole years since I've done one of these videos where I talked about my top 5 fountain pens and gave a couple of honorable mentions. So I had already started thinking about doing this when a viewer suggested in the comment section that I do a new one. I think were new to the channel and watched the old one and were really curious as to, did these pens stay in that position? So that's all the nudge I needed to finish the project, because I'd already been thinking about it and I knew solidly like the top 3 or 4, but I really had to think this time. I really had to, it was less obvious to me, and so I had to go and pour through my, my currently inked logbooks, and I had to really look at it to see, when I got past the 3 or 4 obvious ones, and then it got really bad because it was like there were some ties and things like that. So I think we'll let it all hang out, but I am going to focus with 5 favorites and 2 honorable mentions, and then we'll talk about some of the disruptions and why maybe, or at least my theories on why they didn't make the list anymore, even though it's sort of an impossible exercise to look at your pens and then choose 5 favorites, It's a little bit impossible, but it can be done, and I base it on what I'm using the most and my actual excitement to write with them. A lot of times pens will really surprise you. Either you'll love the way it looks, but you won't like how it writes, or something else, maybe the cleaning part is not so easy. There's always a little hang up with the pens that I end up not using as much anymore. But before we get too wild, let me read to you what the 5 were before and the honorable mentions. So in 2021, exactly 2 years ago, this was October 27, 2021. In the top spot, in the number 1, was the TWSBI Eco. I had 11 of them, and most of them were medium nibs. And we'll keep that number in mind because there's been a little change. And then in the number 2 position was the Opus 88 Omar. I still have 3 of those. It's exactly the same number that I still have. And then in number 3 position was the Genhao X750. Number 4 was the TWSBI Go. Number 5 was Lamy Safari, and we can count in the Vista in there. And at that time, I wasn't into All-Stars yet, so. Okay, so then on the honorable mentions back in 2021, it was the Genhao 159 in the 1st position. And then next was Moonman Wankai Mini. So that's where we were at. We'll put that aside, but we're going to kind of refer to that card because there's been a little bit of disruption, and then there's been some pens that made it, that are still super my favorite, starting right out with number 1. But this is a surprise to me that Lamy Safari has moved into the number 1 position. It's just honest, that's all. It is the one pen, and I have more than one, because I have quite a few colors, and I'll show you. I have them, I now keep them in a Galen leather, so I've been trying to keep it to 10. In the interest of so many interests and so many subcategories that I love. But what I love about this pen is that you can change the nib so easily. And the broad nibs are just perfect for me. The fine nibs are great too, depending on which ink. And I have now, since in between the time, I have now experimented with the extra fine, which is kind of close to the fine, but it gives you just a little bit more fine line. And I've done 1.5 quite a bit, and I even am now liking the 1.1 nib better on this one. So they almost just don't make a nib that I don't like. That's what the truth is now. And in fact, there's a new one, I think it's called a calligraphy nib. And I've got that, actually, I stuck one of those on a Genhao 80, but that's another story, and we'll be getting to that, actually. So number 1, Lamy Safari and Vista. I just love them. And the other part of that is that I'm now crazy about the All-Stars. So when I'm thinking about this, and when I put it in the number 1 position, part of that came about because of discovering how much I truly do love the All-Stars as well. I was scared of them in the beginning because I thought they would scratch. And I thought I would maybe ruin them, but I am very careful with my pens. So, yeah, I now have, I have 2 Galen leather cases where I keep the All-Stars in one and the Safaris and the 2 Vistas that I have in the other one. And that's sort of a speed bump to try to keep me to that level of collection and not to go too crazy. Okay, and in number 2 position overall here is TWSBI Eco. And I just, you know, that's almost a tie. I love the TWSBI Ecos so much. And it's primarily the medium nib. I mean, I like the broad nibs when they're broad enough. And I have a few where I feel like they are broad enough. Whoops. I just get so carried away that I start to talk louder than I need to and I disrupt my voice. Anyway, TWSBI Ecos they have a special place in my heart and in my pen collection. And last time I had 11, and this time, 2 years later, I have 17 of the TWSBI Ecos. So I keep those in a Galen leather 20 pen case, and so far have not exceeded that. But last time I did the video for this project, all of my TWSBIs fit in there, and I made the statement to y'all that that I was going to get rid of one pen if I got more than 20, and I was including everything. The 3 TWSBI Diamond 580s, the VAC 700R, the Mini, and the other pen, you know. Anyway, that's changed, and now it's all I can do to keep my TWSBI Ecos to that size collection. So it's the colors, the beautiful colors, like this one right here. I have TWSBI Crimson in it, and I'm using it when I'm correcting some writing or working on poetry that I've been writing, and I can quickly, you know, go in and make corrections. But I love all the colors, so it gets me into trouble. Okay, then pen number 3 is completely new to me. The brand is brand new to me, and this was a pen friend gift that was sent, which is the Pelikan M800. And I really thought about this there was no question it had to be on this list, because the joy of writing with this pen, it almost scares me. It's like I could get spoiled and I could end up thinking they all have to feel exactly like this. This has a fine nib on it, and it doesn't actually, to me, perform like what the fine nibs that I'm used to. It's just super smooth gold nib, and it's a comfortable weight. And I especially love this for writing letters. I just, you know, when I'm writing with this, it feels very elegant, very special in some way. Of course, all pens that have been gifted to me feel really special. And I never would have thought that I would even, you know, get to try one of these unless I made it to a pen show. So it's difficult for me to, because my usual pattern is when I love a pen, I'll get, you know, as many as I can in as many different colors. But this one is really special, and the next pen is too. So that's kind of moved the furniture in my mind around about the idea of having to have more than one. No, you don't have to have more than one of a special pen. And yet, it's such a blessing in my pen collection that it made the top 5. And, you know, I'm somebody that, whether I want to be embarrassed about it or proud of it or whatever, I have like almost 200 pens. So that says something, I think. And in fact, when I went back to glance at the other video that I made 2 years ago, and I was reading some of the comments, and one commenter said, you know, when I got into Pelikan pens, I could just walk away with the Pelikans and that's it, you know. And it's interesting because unknown to that person, it wasn't the same person who ended up sending me this pen as an awesome and surprise gift. But it was really neat because I was making notes and kind of looking at suggestions for what I ought to try next. And so that was really interesting. Excuse me, my voice is not going to hold, it's not going to keep up with my enthusiasm, I'm afraid. Not to mention that I just got off a phone call that lasted way too long. Okay, so number 4 is another pen where at the moment that I chose it for this project anyway. It was the only Benu pen that I had. And that is the Benu Talisman in Mandrake. And it's got a broad nib on it. And it's just gorgeous. And I love writing with this pen, and I love the sparkles. It makes me so happy to write with it. I like to letter write with it, but journaling is where it really gets to me, because a lot of times lately I've been digging pretty deep, and I like to fiddle with this pen. I like to look at it, and I like to think about what I'm going to write about next. So later on I'll explain what I mean, because I had just an amazing gift of pens from somebody that was downsizing their collection. And so I now have 3 different Benu models to try that I've never tried before. This was the only one, and it was going to be the only one for probably a good long time for me. So, but I love this. And you can change the nib unit. They screw in and out. So you can get a Schmidt nib unit and just switch it if you're not happy with what you have on there. But I don't ever want to mess with this one. It's just perfect the way it is. So that was number 4. And that was a purchase from this household. So and then next was a little gift that came to me that changed my idea about Kaweco Sport. This was a pen friend gift as well. And when I do those things, I'll put it in the description box. I'm not going to be doing initials or names or anything during the video. But this was after my cat, Willie, passed away. And, you know, it just completely changed my mind about Kaweco. I only had one Kaweco Sport at that time because I had such a devil of a time with the medium nib on that other one that I couldn't bring myself to order one, even though a lot of people had told me that I would like a double broad, and because they know my writing and they know, you know, what I like. And this does have a double broad nib on it, and it's just amazing. And after that, I allowed myself to go ahead and get another one. I got the Kaweco Brass Sport with a gift certificate for the channel in double broad. But at the point before I'd received this gift, I wasn't gonna get any more of these Kawecos because I was worried about nib quality. And it's been amazing. I can tell when I just need to keep pens inked up more often than their turn, you know. Having a large collection and still wanting to ink this up, it just becomes very, very clear. That and looking through these books and seeing what I actually was inking. You know, especially over the past year, but it's been 2 years since I made the other video. So now, Coco's here visiting, so you never know what may happen. We're going to do the 2 honorable mentions. And the first one is the Opus 88 Omar. And this is an eyedropper pen. Oh, I haven't been doing very good about piston and eyedropper and so forth. But this holds like 3 mils of ink. And I have 3 of them. I have the yellow and green one, the purple one, and this clear one. And this, I've got the broad nib on it right now. I love these. And I really thought about it a lot because it holds so much ink. So I thought to myself, you know, there was a little period of time there where I wasn't inking them up all the time, but it still makes the honorable mention for absolute sure. Whenever I have them inked up, I wonder what was wrong with my head that I didn't have them, you know, just regularly inked. I think probably because of the way I take care of them. I try to keep them, all of my pens, cleaned well enough that they don't, you know, operate poorly on me or anything. So then next for honorable mention is, this one surprised me too. This is the TWSBI Diamond 580 in the iris with a broad nib. Now, the TWSBI Diamond 580, the other ones that I have, they've never really been up there toward the top, you know. But I like this grip. It seems different. And I like the color on this. I'm just really enchanted with this. And it must have something to do with the color. It's a gorgeous pen to begin with, and it writes like a dream. So there's that. But it did surprise me just a little bit because I thought, well, but that showed up repeatedly. If I don't have a, there's like 3 different color families that I put in it. And if I don't have it inked up, and if I even think about the pen for a second, then I have it inked up again. Right away, I go and put ink in it. So that's where we're at right now today. That's a little snapshot. And you know, it's been the same with the Pelikan M800. If I don't have ink in it and I happen to think of the pen, it's coming back out no matter if I have a dozen pens inked or not, because I just really miss it when it's not inked. You know, these first 2, the Lamy Safari and the TWSBI, they're kind of like my workhorse, you know, always ready, and it's an expression of color, I think, and being able to have several of them and have different colors available to kind of match with the inks. But it was really, really fun to do this. But now let's talk about some of the changes, because, gee, we had some things kind of go away, and it's like, well, where'd they go? So just looking at this list, just looking at what didn't make the top 5 and the honorable mentions, the Jinhao X750, which I still use these. It's only the fact that I didn't do my top 10 or, you know, increase the numbers that it didn't make it. I maybe wouldn't have to have quite as many as what I have, given the fact that I'm now so wild about the others. So that gives me something to think about. And then, let's see. What else didn't? Oh, the TWSBI Go. Now that doesn't surprise me. I was wild crazy about them for a long time. But I'm getting kind of the same experience, you know, the broad nib experience with pens that I am more crazy about. But there's nothing that I don't like about it, especially the 2 broad nib ones. So I have no intentions of letting go of the 2, the clear and the blue in the broad nib. But some of the others maybe, because, you know, if you're not going to use the pens, they need to have a home, I think. Let's see, what else now? Okay, the Jinhao 159. Well, that doesn't surprise me either, because that's a heavy pen, and there's a lot of nib swapping all the time with that, which is not at all like it is with the Lamy. It's so much easier with the Lamy Safari. So it could just come down to me. You know, I'm always, I want to do it quick. I think of it, I want to do it right then. I don't want to look through and check 8 pens to see which one has the exact broad nib I want to use, and I don't want to buy 8 more broad nibs just because out of laziness. I don't want to do that either. So that would kind of explain that, I think. Mercy. Because there's nothing that I don't like about the Jinhao 159s. You know, when I get it outfitted with the nib that's going to stay on it, like this one has a black goulet nib and broad, it just stays. That's permanent. So it's wonderful. Okay. Oh, yes. And then this one, which I worked to try to see, you know, well, what's going on here? The Moonman Mini Wankai. It's still one of my absolute favorite pen models, and I have, I think, 3 of them. So I have a clear one and the green swirl and this one, and I just love them. And it isn't too hard for me to pull the nib off. It's a number 5 standard nib, and put replacements so I can have whatever I want on there. It's usually a broad nib, and that's what this one has. But for some reason, maybe it's a phase. The eyedroppers just recently haven't gotten quite as much use, but now that I've got it out, I just want nothing more than to ink it up. So it's just still a very favorite. So let's see. After that, after this, like starting right now, it starts the true ramble, because there's a lot of pens here I just wanted to mention. Not as part of the top 5 or the honorable mention, I just wanted to talk about a couple. 2 of them are Jinhaos. The Jinhao 80, I get the 80 and the 82 mixed up. Hopefully I'm getting it right. The one that looks like the Lamy 2000. I have a bunch of these, and I've got all the different Lamy nibs on them. You know, when I just really feel like using a different pen, but get that Lamy nib experience, it's wonderful. It's a cartridge converter. You know, it has a converter in it. And I love these. I have not fallen out of favor with them, but they're kind of like, they're not my top writers. They're just so much fun. And these too, the Jinhao 82s. Oh, I need to stay away from Amazon because they keep having different colors and more. Oh my goodness. But that's how we fill up all these pen cases and start having to create speed bumps. So, because I don't want to be ridiculous. I just am, I guess. Okay. So I guess that's the fun part of having a hobby, as long as you keep it real. Okay, so next I mentioned that I have, and I didn't pull all of them, but I did pull this one. This is one of the Benu pens that came in as a gift just recently. And it is a Euphoria, and I've never written with one before. Never had one in my hand before. And it's just gorgeous. It is big. It really is a lot bigger than the Talisman. So this will be one of my next, well, for November, it's a spoiler here, but it will be in my November pens. It's taller, it's kind of wider, it's really got a different shape, and it's just got all this sparkle, and oh my goodness, it's beautiful. These are, I'm not going to say they're out of my budget, but because I don't tend to collect my pen allowance money and save it up very well, I have to really work hard to get up in this price point now. And so this was just such a, like, wow, just huge thank yous. And of course the people have been thanked, but this was an anonymous donor who had several pens to downsize out of their collection and thought of me, and what a wonderful thing. And this, okay, the other one that I did get out is this one, and I'm not even sure I know the name of it yet, but it's, I think it begins with a B, brilliant. I can't pronounce it because I don't have it in front of me to even look at, but I'm doing the research on them and looking into, Gold Spot has the little nib units in broad, so that's going to be really, really neat. Anyway, there's all these new pens that have come into my life. Another one that came with that same set was a Pilot Prera, which I've never used before. The first thing I did with one of them was I pulled off a Pilot Metropolitan Cursive CM, Cursive Medium, I think, and put it on one of these, and I just was so excited. But I am still writing with my October pens, so this is all going to kind of be November, and it'll be a process of choosing too. So, and then another one from a different pen friend is a Sailor 1911 that I'll be able to try. And there's another Sailor 1911 too from a different, from the one that sent the box of pens. And so they're fine nibs, but I am coming to really appreciate more what a fine nib will do. And I've got a lot of learning to do on, which inks and which paper that I'm going to be using, will work well with them. So next year, and as we go into the final part of this year, 2023, it's going to be pretty exciting because there's a lot of things to try. Here's another pen that I'm going to be trying, which is one of the Moonman A1 without the clip, which I noticed right away. What I noticed about this is that it would go right into my Galen, my little Hobonichi holder without really having to stretch that pen loop at all, or, it does slides right in. So I thought, well, that's neat. So wouldn't it be me to have so many to talk about all at once? Let's see, I think this is another Pereira, and this has a medium nib. So yeah, I have a whole lot of homework and a whole lot of like color name findings and things like that to do for November. But I really feel like the 5 pens I showed you plus the 2 honorable mention, that's where I've been at like right now. And I can just feel, some of these new ones coming in. But it requires a year or two to know, what's going to remain as your favorite, what's going to be what you consistently pick up. So, kind of fun to do this. And at the same time, it helps me kind of hone in on what I'm, my collection is large, and it would be probably about half what it is. So if we're talking around 200, it would be around 100 if I was just doing this on my own little, you know, stuff. And it would be probably even less than that. Let's cut it again. If I wasn't getting ad revenue from this channel, where then I experiment with things I might not otherwise try, like all those student pens that I was trying out, that I still will return to, I'm sure. But it's possible that I get easily not only distracted, but somewhat, you know, I don't like the word bored, because Mom used to say, if you're bored, I'll give you something to do. But, you know, so that was a nasty or naughty word, but it could be that can happen to us. And then the pen comes back around again after a while. So I think this is a lot of fun. I was trying to think, like, what was the biggest surprise out of all of this? Really, Lamy and TWSBI do not surprise me. And then just I think the super quality and feel of this Pelikan, even when I clean it, I get a better feeling when I clean this pen than when I clean some of the TWSBIs, where I think, oh, I think it's just about getting to the point where I'm going to have to do something to the pen, you know, and probably grease it or something where it's maybe dried out. This just, the mechanism feels so super, like I trust it. And I clean it, and it cleans real well, and the nib is just crazy smooth. And then, like I said, I think the thing with the Benu is something to look at. The texture of the pen, the whole 9 yards. It's not that different of a nib experience, because you know, you're getting a steel nib, and you know, in this case, a broad. I think the green pen, this one has a fine nib on it right now, which I'll try, and then see whether I need to, you know, get a broad for it. I'm not going to move this one off it, because I really like, it's sitting real nice, and I'm not going to disturb it. And then the shock of having a Kaweco Sport become one of my top 5. Maybe that's the biggest surprise, because, you know, being fully now excited about that double broad on the Kaweco, that's probably the biggest surprise, really, to tell the truth. When I got down into the level of the honorable mentions, let's be honest, you know, it could have gone a different way. I mean, on a different day, you know, 5 days from now, maybe it would be. I'm solid with the top 5, and the Opus 88 Omar is just, I don't know why, because that pen is so big. It's, wow, it's like, okay, there you have the equivalent size, I think. The Euphoria and the, okay, this pen is, the ink chamber, the shutoff valve is open, so it makes it look a little longer, but they're almost the same size and close to the same girth. Maybe the Euphoria is a little wider. They're giant pens, and yet I like a nice big grip section, and I like the capacity, but honestly, I could probably half fill and be okay, because that's a whole month, and I've only used about half of the fill. So, yeah. And then it's just really interesting to me that the TWSBI Diamond 580 in the Iris is almost changing my opinion about the 580, but I really don't think I'll be purchasing any more of them. I think this does it. This is my TWSBI Diamond 580, my favorite one, and you know, it just happens to give me that matchup with so many different colors, like it, you know, with the teal, with the magenta, with the purple, and you know, I think I had a blue ink in it the other day. So anyway, I was really, the other thing I wanted to say was, when I watched that other video, I thought, I was so happy. But there has been a major change since then, and that is I'm completely caffeine free for 6 months now. And I was asking myself, was that caffeine fueled, or what was the difference? Because I don't really think that I'm depressed now, but I know that enthusiasm level was way over the top, and it did make me pause and think, maybe I'm just like, maybe I need to devote more time to the hobby or something. Like, what's going on here? I was really, I always feel enthusiastic, but I could just see it in my eyes. Like there was a sparkle there that I don't see now, but maybe there's some filter, some little things going on in my mind. I don't know. I think I'm just rambling. But I'm really, really glad that I did this. I'm glad that someone made that comment that they wished I would do it, because it sure didn't take long to get, that it just rises up to the top. I mean, I looked through my notebooks and to make sure, to kind of double check myself that at least during the last year that truly reflected the ink ups, the pens that I'm actually most writing with. But I can tell that there's quite a few more that I want to give some airtime to, some writing time. And I don't know why I don't want to stop this video, but I think it's time to. I think this is accurate of where I'm at now, and I'd love to hear where you're at. If you want to list your top 5 or your honorable mentions or even your top 20. Last time, that was one of the most fun parts about doing the video, was that I read through all the comments, and the comments are still there to look at and kind of mine for ideas. If we get bored in this hobby, there are so many different, there's no excuse to be bored, because even once I realized that I was over the top with ink and I needed to just quit buying ink, quit buying samples, stop that, then of course I went on the student pen track. I bought one Benu so I could try it out, and there's always another avenue, I guess, to travel on. And then the other thing that I was going to mention, because sometimes these videos just seem not silly, but they've certainly been done, and I've done them, a lot of them, when it's all about the writing, and one of my best pen friends, bless her soul, she's passed away several years ago. She used to always tell me, because at that time I really didn't have much pen allowance, and she would always tell me, these are nib holders. You have to think of it that way. You're writing, and so what you're producing, it's more important to see, what it looks like and how it's coming out and what does it feel like. Like with the Pelikan, there's a clear feeling of how smooth that is and how absolutely wonderful the flow is. Just right, not too much, not too little, just perfect. It's, but I can never quite get to that level where I think of the pens only as nib holders. But where I really do notice it is with the Jinhao pens, where I get a wonderful experience. Like this one here, this Jinhao 82, I have it's a Knox oblique double broad on there, and it really is cool. Like I even had a light pink ink in it, and it was just amazing, and I really want to try something with a little bit more saturation in it, but it was just so cool. And the pen is, I don't know, maybe $7, maybe $5. It just, it shows you how, these pens can live in harmony side by side. So, and this video is decaffeinated completely. So I will leave you on that note, and I'd love to meet in the comments like we did 2 years ago, and hopefully we can learn from each other or get ideas and sort of just enjoy what we have and what we share with each other and the whole 9 yards. So I'll see you on the next video, and I'll see you down in the comment section. Bye for now.